everybody, and welcome to the Guiding Star YouTube channel. Do I have a treat in store for you today? Today we have Natasha Webber with us here at the channel to talk all about one of the biggest topics in astrology this year, Neptune transiting into the sign of Aries in tropical astrology. Natasha, welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much, my beautiful friend Kesenya. I appreciate the lovely introduction.
We are so happy to have you here, and congratulations on two very exciting things in your astrological journey that have happened. You're currently working with the morning show on Channel 7 here in Australia, which is an exciting thing to see astrology going mainstream and
Mm,
available to the masses. So we're so proud of that happening for you. You are thoroughly deserving of such a privilege. That's really exciting.
thank you. Yeah.
And the second thing that I think is absolutely wonderful is the launch of this book, which is so brilliant. So, Your Celestial Compass is the title, everyone. Head to the link, which I'll put in the description below, so you can make your purchase of this fabulous book. Now, Natasha, I've just been away on holidays and took the opportunity to read this book while I was having a little break. And it is brilliant. It's just so good. It's not your usual astrological cookbook kind of approach. It's so in depth and thorough. And I was utterly impressed. And I especially love chapter 11, which was all about the supermoons, eclipses, and the North Node. Oh my gosh, I learned so much from reading that chapter. Tell me about the journey with the book.
Oh, thank you so much. And for you to say that it's not your typical astrology book, I love that. That's a huge compliment because I did aim to really break some molds and explain and explore beyond the cookie cutter stereotypes of all of the zodiac signs while staying, really true to the 12 signs of the zodiac, which are our 12 main pillars, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, the book, the journey, I was writing this book very off and on for about 7 years,
Oh,
and it
wow.
has a bit of a serendipitous story, to be honest. So writing for a very long time, and then I made a decision that I had to complete it, I had to finish it, and I decided on a timeline around that. And I thought, look, I'll probably have to self-publish. So I went off to a self-publishing retreat, and that was wonderful. But then 2 weeks later, I got a message in my inbox, just randomly, quite coincidentally, from Penguin Random House. So, the rest is really history. So it was such a privilege to bring this book to life because my aim and my goal is to take people on a journey of self-discovery through their astrology.
Mm,
And I'm aiming to speak to people who are not necessarily astrologers themselves, but even if you are, my hope is that you'll still get a lot of value out of
absolutely.
reading the book. But I'm trying to relate this to the everyday person so that they can understand that they're more than just their sun sign, even though I go deep into the zodiac signs. We've got the sex style, the love language, the personality,
Yeah,
and
you talk about planetary returns and the real Mercury retrograde. I mean, you cover
yes,
so much. It's
yes,
amazing.
it's like nearly 400 pages.
Yes.
I actually wrote kind of three half books
Yeah.
and then presented that to Penguin. I'm like, how about three books?
Yeah. That
And
would have
what
been
they
good.
did is they set aside one of them and then amalgamated the two. So it's really like two books in one
Yeah.
because it's all about, moon signs, sun signs, your lunar phase that you were born under. So you can layer up parts and pieces of your birth chart and of you and your astrological DNA to really understand who you are, because I believe that is so empowering.
It
And
really is.
then beyond that, once you do understand who you are and your astrological DNA, then it's about, okay, how are we going to navigate through life more successfully? And that's using the planetary cycles.
Yeah.
And even if people don't know their birth chart, then that part of the book is broken down into ages, as you would know, Kesenia. So you can sort of look at what age bracket you're in and see where the cycle is moving through for you, your Saturn return, your Uranus opposition, which is kind of like our little
Huge.
cosmic midlife crisis, isn't it? The Jupiter lucky
Massive.
cycles. Yeah. So as you can tell, I'm very excited about the book.
I loved that component of it though, Natasha, the breaking down of the ages because like I've been, just to confess to everyone, I've been through a lot of the midlife ones already,
I
but
hear.
I'm observing my young nieces and nephews and my children starting to approach things like the first quarter Uranus, and things like
Yes,
that. And it's like, oh, I need that refresher and reminder for what they're going through and what they're experiencing. And then I've got some younger brothers and sisters who are now hitting their midlife stuff. So it's great for empowering yourself, but also for understanding the dynamics of everybody else in your world too, that what they're going through. So very
absolutely.
wonderful.
And this
Mm.
is where astrology is such a wonderful tool, not just being a tool of self-discovery and empowerment, but also strengthening our relationships through understanding them better and
Yes,
understanding our compatibility. And of course, I dive into compatibility, love, and
fabulous.
all of that in the book as well. There's a chapter. And if your sun signs are not compatible, there's a lot more to it than just
Thank
that.
God for that.
Yeah, that's
Thank God
right.
for that. I've actually been doing a little bit of research into relationship astrology for a course I'm doing actually as well, and your book's come in very handy for enlightening me about a few things there. But yes, thank God that there is more involved than just, matching Venus signs or matching sun signs. So really good.
Yes. And isn't it so fascinating once you do start to delve into that and looking back at past relationships that were possibly, quite traumatic,
Yeah.
or relationships that failed, and just coming to a point of understanding and healing around that through understanding the astrology.
Well, you said before we switched on the record button here, we were having a bit of a chat, and you said astrology is magnificent in retrospect and good for
Yeah,
predicting too. But you get to understand it so much more by looking at your life in retrospect through the lens of astrology. It's quite powerful.
absolutely. And that is a little fun fact, how I work my predictions. I always look back to the previous cycle, the previous
Mm.
planetary cycle in that sign to see what was happening then, what was coming up, not just on a personal level, but out in the world. And it may not repeat exactly, but those themes usually do.
Yep, yep. And I mean, it's all cyclical, and that's how
Mm.
we can understand it and and learn about what's coming up, like you've described. And we're going to be talking about a pretty big astrological cycle today, Neptune in Aries. But I might, if it's okay with you, I might just take a couple of seconds because not everybody watching my channel will have seen our previous chat that we had, which was a couple of years ago now. And they may, because my channel's quite international, they may not be aware of who you are. So I just want to let everybody know, Natasha has 20 years experience doing astrology. You're a member of the Australian Academy of Astrology and Cosmobiology and the American Federation of Astrologers. So that's quite a fabulous organization to be a member of. They have annual meetings, don't they? The American Federation of Astrology. Have you been to any of their annual meetings?
No, I haven't, but my old teacher was their vice president.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's how that opportunity was opened up to me. And my teacher at the time, and this is, I've been doing astrology for 24, 25 years now. Yes, this is
I know.
wrong. Um, but there was a topic, there was a research topic that she thought might suit me, given my background with animals. This is going off on a bit of a tangent, but I wrote a research article on man and wildlife in
Fabulous.
astrology, and I looked at the charts of all of these amazing people who had devoted their life or had a strong connection with animals,
Like Jane Goodall and people like
Jane Goodall,
that.
Diane Fossey, yeah, absolutely, and charts of organisations that had a lot to do with animals as well. So I came up with some commonalities, and I had to do with the North Node and Mars actually.
Wow.
So I wrote my findings, and this was published in the AFA, the American Federation of Astrologers International magazine. But that was a long time ago. That was sort of when I was when I was studying and with a senior research group with the AAAC. So
How
yes,
fabulous.
yeah,
And
it's
of
wonderful.
course, that comes out of your childhood being raised in the Melbourne Zoo.
Yes, good thing. You
Sounds
remembered.
funny to say it that way. I mean, I'm not saying that you were in the zoo, but
Yeah, I kind of literally was.
Mm.
And I grew up with chimpanzees and lion cubs in the house. I mean, we're going back, I'm going to give away my age, but we're going back to the 70s here. So it's very different now at the zoo, from what I understand.
Mm.
And of course, it's questionable to keep wild animals in captivity and all of that. But at the time, my father, and I'm really proud of this, he started as a keeper. He came over, he was an acrobat in Germany, came to Australia, and he went as a 17, 18-year-old to work at the zoo and then ended up becoming the assistant director and changing, redesigning all of the enclosures, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them in his career to be more aligned with the natural habitat of that particular animal. So once upon a time, back in the 60s, the
It
zoo
was
was
just a
very much
cage.
concrete,
Mm.
concrete cages.
Mm.
And he designed all the beautiful kind of natural fauna and the
How
more
wonderful.
open plan enclosures. But
How
zoos
wonderful.
play a huge part in conservation as well. So
Yeah.
really going off on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, but it's very interesting. And you've done ballet as well, which I find
Yeah.
fascinating and beautiful.
Yeah, that was my first career really.
Mhm.
And that was wonderful. The
Yeah.
theatre. That's my Leo moon because Leo is very much about theatrics and a dash of drama. Don't mind a bit of that.
Yes.
But
And
it's
I
also
have to ask, do you have anything in your 11th house? Because in Vedic astrology, the 11th house is associated with professional dancers.
oh really? That's so interesting. I do. I have Jupiter in Spica in
Wow.
the 11th, so it's a very strong house for me. So that's fascinating. Thank you
Oh,
for sharing that.
that is fascinating. Isn't it any wonder we get along so well? My moon is with Spiker in Libra.
Oh,
So
how beautiful is that? The moon and Jupiter. Oh my gosh, it's a match made in heaven.
I know, aren't we? That's fabulous. But you're also writing for Marie Claire and Mamma Mia. Like am I saying that right? Mamma Mia. I don't actually follow
Yeah.
that website, but I have seen it around.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're just doing amazing things for astrology at the moment, Natasha. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
we're all very proud of you in the astrological community and how much you're achieving for astrology out in the mainstream. So
Thank you.
congratulations again.
That means so very much. Yeah, it's a massive privilege. I love my little niche in the astrological world in doing that and reaching the mainstream. Must say, it hasn't been without its challenges.
Yeah, I
I
can
think you
imagine.
might remember the Channel 7 News. I wrote the horoscopes for that platform as well for a few months.
Yeah.
And the press, I can get this off my chest because I know everyone
Go
watching is
for
going
it.
to be supportive of astrology and its community.
Mm,
But yeah, the press did take that and have a field day with it. And I
mm,
felt like I had to really defend astrology.
mm.
Um, but that was a really challenging period.
I know, I can only imagine. I saw a horrific comment by Margaret Pomerantz, and I was absolutely disgusted, to be quite frank, with what she was
Yeah.
saying. And I don't mind saying that on my channel. Um, you know, the without going down the rabbit hole too much, the thing I find offensive is that so many of these people utilize astrology, and yet on the flip side, they pretend that it's bad and it's silly and everything. But they're using it all the time themselves, and it makes me angry. But that's a whole little rabbit hole.
I will just say so, two things. So a lot of the journalists, and I must say, only one of them kind of came for me personally, but most of them attacked and critiqued the concept. But many of these journalists have actually been to me for a consultation.
Oh, there you go. That's
Personally.
exactly what I mean.
So
Exactly.
that was funny. But also, look, I can understand because it was sun sign horoscopes, and we as astrologers understand the place of sun sign horoscopes in astrology, and I think that they're very noble because it's these horoscopes that often open the gateway to the more comprehensive astrological study and astrological wisdom. And if you align your horoscope reading with your rising sign, it can be pretty close to a personal reading. It's about as close as you can sort of get without having a reading, which is obviously gold standard. So yeah, it was just a shame that, and it was interesting that, you know, journalists whose job is to delve deep into their topic of discussion didn't do that, because I know, and I'm sure you know too, that if they had have done that, then they would have understood the incredible complexity and value in astrology and the rich history.
So true, so true. I mean, I think, golly, I could really go down a rabbit hole, but I won't. I'll just say journalism isn't what journalism used to be these days. So that's probably enough said from me, or else you'll never shut me up. I'll get on my soapbox. So
anyway.
But maybe that perhaps might be a good lead in to start looking at Neptune and in Aries, because we are beginning a whole new cycle right now that's going to last 165 years of Neptune moving through the horoscope, moving through Aries, and then obviously subsequently going around all the other signs as well.
That's
so
right.
I'd love your wisdom and insight, Natasha, on Neptune moving through, well, Aries for the next 14 years.
Yes, okay, we're opening up a big cosmic can of worms right here. So, I mean, Neptune, firstly, I think it's nice to acknowledge that it's wrapping up a 14-year story. And this is due to Neptune finishing its journey through Pisces. So Neptune's been journeying through Pisces since 2011. And if for people listening out there, have a think about what was coming up for you around that time. There has been a story for 14 years, because this is a beautiful opportunity, if you're aware, to find closure and possibly healing around that story. And then, of course, the beginning of a brand new Neptune in Aries story. And this will highlight that Aries house in your birth chart, because Neptune will begin to travel through that Aries house in your birth chart for another 14 years. So this is absolutely huge. I think, though, you know, there are some challenges here because there are some conflicting energies. Neptune is dreamy and gentle and soft and reserved and spiritual. And Aries is a really bold, hard-hitting, go-getting sign. So it's a matter of sort of balancing those two energies, like honoring that creative and spiritual aspect of yourself, but also being, you know, sort of mindful of not rushing and not being impatient with that energy. So just to go back, because I did say that I look at the historical cycle.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do
a little bit. So the last time that Neptune was in Aries, it was 1861 until 1875. Now, I do want to speak a little bit about the conflict, you know, out in the world, because the last time that Neptune was there at in this period, we had the American Civil War. We also had lots of revolutions in Europe, you know, including the unification of Italy. I think this really speaks to that warrior type of energy that Aries is. And Neptune kind of dissolves. It dissolves outdated structures and outdated ways of being. And Aries is very much about we're going to have a new vision. Neptune can support that. So I think the good news story around this is that let's dream bigger. Let's create a brand new vision for the future. But first, being mindful of the history of this world conflict and understanding that the energy around that is about breaking down outdated structures and getting rid of, eliminating patterns that are no longer serving us in order
I think that's just wonderful, because we had during that time the abolition of slavery in America through the Civil War, and then we also had the removal of serfdom in Russia at the same
Right.
time, which was another powerful, like you're saying, cleansing of outdated structures that just don't fit anymore with what society would like. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Neptune will do in that regard this time around.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these things, particularly, abolishing slavery. I mean, what a wonderful thing that was. But this brought about a civil war in
Mm.
order to achieve that. So I
Yeah,
think understanding that the conflict has a purpose
yeah,
and that we need to keep our hopes and our spirits high and keep
okay.
dreaming, dreaming the bigger dream and fighting the good fight really. I think Neptune in Aries can be about fighting the good fight.
Yes, fighting for ideals, fighting for a compassionate cause, those sorts of Neptunian good themes of Neptune. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I dreamed a dream and all of that.
Yes, that is the song for Neptune in Aries, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. I love
yeah.
it.
And so also, of course, Saturn will work with Neptune this year. I don't think we can really look at Neptune in Aries alone. We have to consider Saturn in the mix. And this is also about, Saturn comes in and just tears down what's not working.
Yep.
It gets rid of it. And Neptune maybe sort of builds the dream, but Neptune also dissolves, so they're working really as a team in 2025.
Mm.
And of course, these two, Neptune will enter Aries on the 30th of March.
Mhm.
Then Saturn enters Aries in May.
Yes.
And then Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces in October and then re-enter Aries again. So and Saturn will do the same thing. I think Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces
That's
in
right.
September.
Yeah.
So we do have a period where these two get very, very close, although their exact conjunction doesn't occur until 2026, February 2026.
But they're still within orb to be highly active at this time, so we're going to feel
Absolutely.
it. Mm.
Yeah, and when these two planets get even remotely close to each other,
Mm.
even in the same sign, it has a tangible impact
Yeah.
on
Look, it's
our
so interesting that we're talking about the abolition of slavery and things like that, and then Saturn Neptune conjunction, because Abraham Lincoln, who to my mind was the hero archetype, if you like, of the last time Neptune was in Aries. Of course, Aries is that superhero
yeah.
kind of
Yes.
archetype, and Neptune is compassion. But Abe Lincoln had Saturn Neptune conjunct in his chart. So
Ah,
it's just the epitome of this type of energy that we're looking at with Saturn conjunct Neptune and Neptune in Aries. Power.
yes.
Mm.
Yes, and that's amazing. And I can think of someone else who aligns with what I'm about to say, who was born in 1989. So the last time that Neptune and Saturn were actually in alignment, were
Mm.
together, it was in Capricorn, not in Aries, but this is still just about the planetary energy of these two planets, was in 1989. And this is when the Berlin Wall fell. So
Yes.
I think, this is very much about the impact on collective faith. And when the Berlin Wall fell, that was a time that brought in a resurgence of religious freedom,
Mm.
across Europe and Eastern Germany.
Yeah.
So I think this will, on a personal level, this will get us questioning potentially our faith. It
Yeah.
might get us questioning our religion, if that's something that we subscribe to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think we can strengthen our commitment to our faith, whatever that may be.
Do you think
Um,
it will see people developing more of an independent spirituality? Because Aries is a very independent kind of
yeah,
solo flyer energy. And so people,
yes.
I don't think they're going to be throwing their spirituality out, but they might take what works for them and leave what doesn't, and
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, when they're questioning it, they're questioning and saying what works for me, what resonates for me,
yeah.
rather than questioning it, and I'm not going to follow anymore.
Mm.
And they might question and they might come up with, yes, this is a religion that resonates with me. But it just highlights that type of
Yes.
consideration, doesn't it? And of
Yeah.
course, Taylor Swift was born in 1989. And so she has the Saturn Neptune conjunct in her chart as well. And I think we'll see her through her music. Also, Neptune Saturn is a very, very, as well as being spiritual, it's very creative, very creative alignment. And so I think she will be speaking to these themes through her music in times to come.
And she's been quite she's really stood up for equality and fairness and ownership of her own music rights in an industry that's notoriously can be a little bit under.
Yes.
So, you know, she could really, as we move into Neptune in Aries, see a lot of warriors, Neptune in Aries around music, you know, who are taking back ownership of their music stock and everything. So, and she's a real icon for that sort of thing. So that's
And yeah, she's a fabulous icon for women also. And I think, you know, it's quite a masculine, I mean, Aries is a very masculine energy. So I think we will see issues around women advocating for their rights around this period. And, you know, they might also feel torn between doing that and keeping the peace. So this is something to be mindful of as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the types of music and movies that we might see might go through a bit of a shift because Neptune rules music and movies. So, you know, we might have more Aries themes in our music and movies that we see coming out.
More superhero movies.
Yeah, like we haven't had enough.
Something to do with a water superhero, an underwater superhero.
Sequel to Aquaman.
It's amazing the way that the astrology does reflect in the, you know, in our movies and in our music. I mean, it all works.
It does. Well, just thinking about that, you know, Aries is very sporting. So we might see some records broken in water sports because, you know, Neptune is water and Aries is sporting. So, you know, if you're a swimmer or a water skier or something, there might be a lot of potential there.
I think so. I think so. That would be amazing. Keep your eye on that. Also, I think these two, as well as being spiritual and creative, they are the combination of health in astrology. And so there's two sides to that coin. I think we need to be really mindful of our health. I think there's a vulnerability around health with this alignment, particularly at the mid this year as Neptune and Saturn get close towards the middle of this year, but mainly in February of 2026 as well. And the other side to that coin, of course, is the medical breakthroughs that I think we'll see. And then Aries rules blood. So I think a lot of these breakthroughs, or we'll see something to do with blood work, advancement in pathology, perhaps, that helps us diagnose disease and helps lead to those breakthroughs. I think we'll see some phenomenal, and to do with cells as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So can I ask why cells? Is that connected with Aries also?
Yes, cells is connected with Saturn, so cellular function.
Okay.
So I think, we could see something related to health and cellular function.
Yeah, well, that would be brilliant, you know.
Yeah,
Brilliant to see some momentum around that sort of thing. I mean, I don't, maybe I'm making assumptions here, but Neptune in Pisces, a lot of things to do with health have been a little bit illusionary or a bit hard to put your finger on, hard to determine, while Neptune's been moving through Pisces, which in its shadow side can be quite deceptive, can be misty and foggy. So
and of course Neptune's been moving through 29 degrees of Pisces. And I've been speaking about this for about a year, and how this actually really relates to and is impacting our very destructive weather patterns, because Neptune's mythology is linked to the Poseidon and the god of the seas. And this is linked to tsunamis, earthquakes, anything sort of related to the tides. So here in Australia, as you know, we've had a terrible cyclone in the north. And actually, the last time that Neptune was in this degree, it was the time of the Great Flood in California.
Oh,
I think
really?
that was 1861, the Great
Okay.
Flood. Yes. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, I might need to just brush up on those dates, but I
Because
think,
I know they had a very more severe than usual winter over there, lots of snow and I was there in November and heavy, heavy rains in
yes.
November in places. Yeah,
Yeah. And of course, this placement, this 29th degree
amazing.
of Pisces, and Neptune will only hit that placement sort of once every 164,
Yes.
155 years, right? But this is aligned with the fixed star, Skeet. If
Yes.
you work with the fixed stars, and I think some astrologers call it Shiat, I've
Yes.
I've always called it Skeet. I
Yep.
don't
Yep.
know which is right.
I know the one. I know the one, but
Yeah.
it's a bit of a menacing star from recollection, isn't
It
it?
is the most challenging fixed star there is, and it's linked to emotional drowning as well. It can be, if you have it in your birth chart, please don't fear,
Mhm.
because it can be highly creative and spiritually inclined. So it can indicate spiritual blessings and spiritual gifts.
Mm.
But of course, we do see a lot of very talented actresses, actors, musicians go into that shadow side of Pisces
Yeah.
with being disillusioned and the drugs and addictions.
Mm.
So that is really the shadow side of this placement. But yeah,
Fascinating, Natasha, that today this video is going to be released in about a week's time, but as we're recording this, the sun is at that degree today. So
oh,
yeah,
right.
it shifts to Aries at about 8 o'clock tonight, I think. So
Ah, yes.
the time, like I just every time I talk to you, the timing of things is just so synchronistic, so
I
powerful.
love it. And
Mm.
I love that because, it's all about the cycles of astrology merging with the cycles of life and our personal cycles and experiences. And all we need to do is kind of unpack the layers.
That's it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so true, so true. Yes, but Neptune being at that degree today, and throughout the last few months as well, do you think that affected the terrible cyclone that they had in Tennessee and North Carolina last year in America as well?
I would say it would have. Yes. I
Mm.
didn't know about that one, but if the timing would line up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think and somebody was saying the conjunction of Neptune, was it Neptune with the North Node was quite
Right.
potent with that as well. Of course, the North Node expands whatever it comes into or amplifies what it comes into contact with, and that was at
Yeah.
around that point too. So,
And I find that North Node energy is often reflects large communities.
ah,
It can be about blood ties, but also large communities of people. So I do find that with big events that affect large groups of people or communities, the North Node is often present one way or another.
fascinating.
So that's interesting. You should say that.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you keep going before I keep interrupting with all these ideas and things
Oh
I'm
no,
trying to
I
plan.
love your input. It's so fascinating. Do you want me to go through the uh,
Sure. Yes.
how I think Neptune might impact each sign?
I think that people be really, really interested to hear about that. Yeah. So I just want to, before we move into that, I want to pick your brain, if I might, about
Why?
Saturn. Well, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction has intrigued me, and the Neptune in Aries kind of plays into this as well, because much of what I've read online has been very negative about the two coming together, and oh, it's aligned with
Yes,
the Communist Manifesto and all
yes.
sort of very heavy, heavy things. But I did come across one person who was saying that Neptune conjunct with Saturn is actually connected to, in a high vibrational sense, to the manifestation of your dreams. And therefore, we need to watch what we're imagining, imagine the best and imagine good things because, visualization is a Neptunian thing and it can be very powerful, especially when it's with Saturn that crystallizes things into reality. So manifesting our dreams is a potentially big impact of these two coming together. But if we're stuck in a low vibrational mindset and not thinking, of uplifting things and our vision for humanity in a positive sense, then that's what crystallizes. So I'd love to hear what you feel, what you sense about that idea.
Yeah, well, I love that. And that absolutely makes so much sense because Neptune is the planet of dreams and spirituality and manifestation. But then Saturn is about grounding into reality
Yeah.
and actually bringing something into being and making it sort of tangible.
Yes.
So the two aligning in that sense makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. And I think it is very important that we keep our vision for the future high and bright, which is what I was sort of saying going back to the beginning. Yes, this was a time when Neptune was in Aries previously from 1861 until 1875, where the world was in chaos. We were in a lot of conflict. There were revolutions. There was the American Civil War. But the ultimate vision was one of hope.
Yes.
And beauty and a better way of living.
High ideals.
So I think that's why it is so important that we keep that in our mindset, and we keep that high and bright as we're sort of meeting these challenges that we're facing in 2025.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm so encouraged because I was just thrilled when I read about that myself.
Yeah,
I
that's
really thought I can get on board with that. So it's nice to hear somebody who was like, yeah, in that same space.
Oh,
But
yeah. My Sag rising is all about like high and bright. However, can I just say too, people, please be mindful. I don't think manifesting is something that we should be doing on an eclipse, in eclipse season. So just give it some time. And of course, also we're in a double retrograde with Mercury and Venus retrograde. So I just think that's when, I don't know, maybe we don't understand our own vision as well as we should. The future ideal of who we want to become and what we want our life to become may not be clear to us at this point in time.
Because of the eclipse energies, Natasha?
Because of the eclipse energies, because eclipses bring chaos and unpredictability and erratic energy, but they also bring fated changes. So we may not understand what those changes that are in store for us are going to be like. Yeah. So there's an element of surrendering to what needs to happen, and just surrendering to the energy of the moment when you're in eclipse season. I'm really big on free will. I talk about free will in the book and how astrology is a tool, and we still always maintain our free will. But I think that eclipse season may be the one exception. Yeah. And then, of course, when the planetary energy is in retrograde, especially with, Mercury is how we think, how we perceive, and Venus being our values and our desires, what we want to bring into being. And that's all going backwards. So no, I wouldn't think about manifesting now. But that said, we're talking more about Neptune and Saturn, and they don't really get close until kind of, I think, probably July, August. Yeah.
No, that's good to know. So during this, particularly this gateway between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, we should be just dealing with what comes up and perhaps not planning or not putting out praying and trying to manifest certain things. Just is there something you should be doing with the energy at this time?
Well, my little favorite eclipse mantra is let go and let flow.
Yeah.
Let God in there as well.
Yeah.
Good one. And surrender and keep the faith, I think, particularly at this time, keeping the faith, keeping the vision bright, as you mentioned before, because that's so important. So that's really my advice. But then again, of course, it depends on the cycles. What were you doing in the last eclipse, and being as prepared as you can so you can make the best decisions and choices in the moment when it's presented to you. But it's more about working with the energy that comes forward to you, that is happening to you, rather than being determined about pushing forward with something new.
Yes.
And not reading the signals, not picking up on the astrological, what the astrology is trying to tell you. And this can happen to the best of us. We want something so badly that we're just pushing ahead despite all of the red flags that are being presented to us. And sadly, despite some of the beautiful new paths that might be opening up, we can be blind to those because we are so determined. And I think the eclipse season brings us in its beauty these destined changes and switch ups that we might not be manifesting or working towards otherwise.
That is so lovely. And I must confess that's something that my heart needed to hear today. So I just want to thank you personally for sharing that about the eclipse season that we're in.
Pleasure.
Let go and let God.
Yeah.
Yourself. But we're going to move. Are you ready to do
Yes.
signs look?
Yeah. So I've written horoscopes. I'm going to read them out for everybody. Please, can I just say, so important to listen. If you know it, please listen for your rising sign as well as your sun sign. I think that the sun sign can be used as inspiration, and the rising sign is a little more accurate in terms of its impact on our experience.
Fabulous. And I'll put timestamps in the video so people can go to the relevant sun sign or even moon sign and rising sign that they would like to explore.
Yes.
And I'm going to use my little mini astro wheel to help. You're starting with Aries?
Okay, so Aries and Aries rising, Neptune in your sign marks a phase of total reinvention. The mask you've worn is cracking away and revealing your raw truth underneath. You'll feel compelled to change your appearance, the colors, the styles, and adornments that match your authentic self. Trust the process. Your transformation is both internal and external. Let this go. Outdated self-perceptions, body shame, and seeking external validation. The Taurus and Taurus rising, Neptune enters a deeply introspective phase for you. Dream decoding, therapy, and shadow work become powerful transformation tools. Solitude can be healing, but don't let yourself drift too far into isolation. Creative and spiritual breakthroughs await if you give yourself the space to explore them. Let this go. Escapism, martyrdom, and white knight syndrome.
Oh, yeah, martyrdom's a big one for Neptune, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Especially in the 12th house.
Yes. Okay, so Gemini and Gemini rising, your friendships and group affiliations are evolving. Neptune connects you with kindred spirits who share your vision for the future. Some social circles, however, may dissolve, and this will make space for more authentic, spiritually aligned connections. And your dreams and wishes are up for review. Your manifestation powers peak in this period. Let this go. Fake friendships, misplaced idealism, and hollow activism.
Love it.
Cancer and Cancer rising. Career ambitions are shifting towards more purpose-driven work. Neptune dissolves old definitions of success, inviting you to follow your calling rather than status or material security. You might step into creative or a healing profession, or just redefine what it means to feel fulfilled in your life's vocation. Let this go. Workaholism, outdated life goals, conventional success metrics.
Beautiful.
To that one.
I know somebody who's a Cancer sun that's really going to appreciate that particular reading.
Ah, okay.
Very good.
Who might that be?
That's my husband.
Oh, well, my beautiful partner's a Cancer as well.
Right, of course.
Aren't we lucky?
We really are. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are lucky to have Cancer
Yes,
gentlemen in our lives. They're beautiful.
they really are. All right, Leo and Leo rising. Can't keep a Leo waiting. So your worldview is expanding, but in ways that are more spiritual than logical. You might feel drawn to distant lands, alternative philosophies, or higher learning, but struggling to pin down exactly what you seek. So travel promises a sense of mystery and adventure. Travel could be wonderful for you. Expect serendipitous journeys that elevate your mind and your soul. But let this go. Gurus, rigid ideologies, and chasing false wisdom. Virgo and Virgo rising. So Neptune dissolves your emotional barricades, bearing your authentic self. You are not settling for surface level connection. Intimacy deepens and you'll share hidden desires and sexual fantasies or dreams that once felt too big to voice. Financial decisions need careful scrutiny because Neptune's fog clouds judgment, and any old emotional wounds you've carried begin to heal under this transit. Let this go. Fear of vulnerability, financial entanglements, and emotional walls. And Libra rising. Neptune brings swoon-worthy romance, but also the potential for blurred boundaries in relationships. You'll crave soul-level connection in every partnership, from lovers to business allies. Authentic relationships will evolve while others dissolve. And read any contracts or documentation. There could be some confusion around legal paperwork. But let this go. Fantasy love, codependency, and parasitic partnerships.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Speak. Preach, sister.
Okay, Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Neptune liberates you from the tyranny of 9-to-5 grinds towards more flexible hours that suit you. Wellness becomes less about punishing gym routines and more about listening to your body's innate wisdom. And you might feel called to support others in meaningful ways, blending service with your soul work. Let this go. Rigid routines, overworking, and performance-based wellness. Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, your pleasure zone gets a Neptune-powered upgrade. You'll be questioning what fun means to you. Things that once satisfied you might feel empty, and new passions beckon. Romance glitters with possibility for singles, but keep those rose-colored glasses in check because not everyone deserves your fairy tale. And if you've brushed aside a creative project, Neptune's artistic genius breathes new life into it. Let this go. Idealized love, creative blocks, and empty pleasures. Capricorn and Capricorn rising, your home gets a Neptune-inspired makeover, but this is about your space reflecting your heart and soul, not just your Instagram aesthetic.
Good one.
See, you know what I mean.
I do.
You'll see family dynamics in a new light, recognizing which patterns you've inherited and which you've chosen. And Neptune helps you heal a childhood wound or trauma. And let this go. Emotional baggage, toxic family dynamics, and home decor you keep just because. And Aquarius and Aquarius rising, communication takes on a deeper, more intuitive manner. You're reading the room, and that's a talent. And whether through writing, speaking, or social media even, your words have power, but beware of misinformation. You could find yourself second-guessing or over-explaining or getting lost in online distractions. A newfound interest in spiritual studies or visionary thinking might emerge. But let this go. Overthinking, mindless scrolling, and small talk.
Amen.
Last but absolutely not least is the beautiful Pisces and Pisces rising. Kesenya, this is you. Your money landscape is shifting. Neptune aligns your financial goals with a higher purpose. Maybe it's a passion purpose or a creative side hustle that becomes financially viable. You could also donate your time or your money to charities and causes that speak to your heart. This is wealth redefined on your terms. Just be mindful of your moral compass because Neptune's haze might cause it to waver. Let this go. Scarcity mindset, chasing status, and financial fantasies.
Oh, amen. I totally agree. It was absolutely brilliant, Natasha. Thank you for sharing that. I think everybody is going to be so inspired by listening to that. And they'll be rushing out to subscribe to AstroTash for more such updates in the future. Now, if people watching this want to do that, where do they go? Do you want to share about your links and
Oh, thank you.
connections?
They can connect with me. Probably the best way would be on astrotash.com. And if they subscribe to my free newsletter, then I will be sending out weekly astro updates and some freebies and special offerings. Instagram as well, I kind of live there. But also, if they want to get the book, my hot tip would be to pop over to amazon.com.au because they have a big sale on at the moment and it's 23% off
Oh,
there.
bargain, bargain. And
Yeah,
it's so worth it, guys. You're just going to love this book. Really, look how thick it is. It's fantastic.
7 years.
Absolutely brilliant. Natasha, as always, it has been an absolute delight to have you here at Guiding Star Astrology. We'll have to do this again soon. There's plenty to talk about going on in the
Yes.
skies this year.
Mhm.
But I just personally want to say thank you for helping me tackle one of the biggest events of this year, which was Neptune moving into Aries. And I'm just so thankful to have been able to share the exploration of that with someone as well researched as yourself.
Oh my gosh, well, likewise. And it's been a pleasure to chat about this massive, massive astrological shift, the mother of all shifts, as I call it, with an amazing astrologer as yourself, Kesenya, and I
Thank
honestly
you.
mean that. And a beautiful
Oh,
friend.
thank you. And yeah, Tash, so lovely. And we will have to do this again soon. But for now, everybody, enjoy the movement of Neptune into Aries for its first sojourn there in 165 years.
Oh,
And it'll be happening again a couple of times in the coming year as well. So this is the first taste. Enjoy, everybody. And thank you once again, Tash, for joining us.
thank you.